Welcome to another movie plot. It begins in an underground facility with two average office workers, Gary and Stephen, preparing for their biggest day of the year. They're told by chemist Wendy that the Stockholm facility's already failed, but the two seem unfazed and assure her that Japan'll pull it off. We jump to a college dorm room where the student Dana's preparing to go for a long weekend at a lakeside cabin. Her best friend Jules recently dyed her hair and is joining her with her pigskin-tossing boyfriend Curt, who's a sociology major and recommends some better reading for Dana's studies as well as a pair of pants to travel. They load up the RV and meet Curt's prodigal friend Holden, who's been brought along to cheer up Dana after she recently got through a breakup. The final friend joining them is Marty, who's an innovative stoner who's bringing his telescopic water pipe that retracts into a travel mug. They set off to Curt's cousin's cabin in the woods where they'll have no reception for the entire weekend, making Marty happy to be off-grid. An agent staking out the students' radios back to command that they've left, so Gary and Steve begin tracking them via satellite as they pull into a derelict gas station for directions. The decrepit old attendant Mordecai gives the basic "there ain't nothing up there but evil" speech and refers to Jules as the whore, but instead of a fight breaking out, the intelligent students all just leave. As they pass through a tunnel, a bird tries to follow but is electrocuted by an invisible force field guarding the area. They reach the cabin reminiscent of the Evil Dead movies, and despite the bad vibes it gives off, Dana's the first one to enter. When they begin to claim bedrooms, Holden removes a disturbing painting from the wall and reveals a window peering into Dana's room. She starts taking off her clothes, where if he weren't a better man Holden would be thrilled, but he does the right thing and bangs on the wall. The group investigate and speculate that the house was used for interrogations in old colonial times. The two switch rooms, but now Holden attempts to get his kit off as quickly as he can, so Dana covers it back up. At the facility, the agents are shown to have drugged the protagonist through various means such as Jules's blonde dye or Marty's stash. The phone rings and it's Mordecai, who says that their plan was almost foiled by the fool, but their ultimate goal for the kids is still unknown. Hearing his echo, the Harbinger realizes that the office workers have him on loudspeaker and are making fun of his cryptic words, so he hangs up. As night falls, dozens of the facility staff gather around the cameras to place bets on the students' demise. A new agent named Truman questions the validity of the competition since they control the outcome, but Gary tells him that the points to guess how they die is that's completely up to them. The Harbinger was placed there as a warning that the students must choose to ignore, but they also use the most untrustworthy looking person they could find. At the cabin, everyone begins to get wasted and Jules is dared to make out with the wolf head mounted on the wall, which she does so in excruciating fashion, but when it's Dana's turn for truth or dare, the basement door flies open. The group make it Dana's dare to check it out, and she descends into the cellar where the rest of the inebriated youngsters follow. It's full of strange trinkets that they each begin to inspect as the facility wait anxiously, when Dana picks up a diary and begins reading passages. It recounts the tale of a young girl patient whose twisted upbringing saw her brutally murdered by her father. Marty says that they shouldn't read the Latin that precedes it as that's usually bad, but an influential whisper from the facility lowers Dana's critical thinking. As soon as she recites the words, the Buckner family returns from their graves in the backyard as zombies. Meanwhile, maintenance celebrates with their selection of zombie redneck torture family, which is completely different from regular zombies, as Gary will tell you. And it also must be shared with a single intern, Ronald, who was sick of the unimaginative maintenance always picking the same thing. Wendy comforts Truman with the notion that seeing these things of nightmares for so long you get used to it, but the new guy asks if anyone really should. Steve's disappointed as he chooses merman every year yet never gets to see one in person, but Gary tells him they're a mess to clean up anyway. As they leave discussing every other country's failure at the same task, we see that Japan's terrorizing a school with the same ritual but has a 100% success rate of killing their targets. At the cabin, Jules and Curt are acting out of character and decide to go for a walk in the forest. Marty's the only one to notice their strange behavior, and tells Dana his theory of puppet masters controlling them, but she just thinks him stoned. With everyone in the facility standing around at half-mast watching the couple, they release pheromones to make them aroused and light up the perfect place to get a centipede in your crack. As the two fool around on the moss heap, Jules is suddenly stabbed in the hand as the whole family attack. Father Buckner uses a bear trap to neutralize both, and Kurt's made to watch as Jules is beheaded in front of him. Gary and Steve recite an ancient prayer, which they do after every kill, before smashing a vial of blood that trickles down a groove into a stone slab. Marty hears a voice again but has convinced even himself that it's just a product of the product. While Dana and her date start getting close on the couch, Marty spoils the mood by pointing out Holden's erection and going outside to urinate. Patience has made it to the house, but Curt survived the attack and saves Marty from her with a clothesline. They both run inside for protection, but Dana opens the door back up to find her friend, and is met by her head being tossed into her arms before forcing the door back closed. Initially planning to stick together, Gary releases a toxin into the cabin that gets Curt acting crazy, and he tells everyone to run to their own rooms. The doors slam closed behind them, but Marty bumps a lamp off the table and finds a hidden camera beneath it. The office workers begin blaming chemistry for not making him more compliant, but Wendy determines that whatever he's smoking is making him immune to their drugs. Their fears are resolved when the already naturally dim-witted selection just thinks he's on a reality TV show, but is suddenly dragged out a window by a Buckner zombie who begins stabbing at him with a trowel. Marty puts up a fight but is stuck in the back, fleeing and dragged into the grave that they crawled out of. The vial cracks and a stone slab is covered in blood that signifies the death of the fool, and the whole facility begins to rumble, including the cabin above them. A zombie tries to attack Dana, so Holden smashes the window between their rooms, and the two find a hidden trapdoor that leads into a second basement. It appears to be the father's torture chamber, who scorpions Holden with his bear trap, needing Dana to pull him down and run a crowbar through father's skull. But these are zombie redneck torture family who need a few more stabs. Curt enters through another hidden entrance and leads them outside to the RV, where they manage to escape, but a bloody handprint shown on the handle. As they come up on the tunnel, Gary notices it's still unobstructed and runs down to demolitions to fix their screw-up. He's able to activate an explosive to cave in the tunnel, almost killing the survivors, but they make it out just in time. With no other way to send for help, Curt decides that it's up to him to jump a large ravine on his dirt bike, a distance that he's easily done before, but this time, like the bird, he's electrocuted by the shield and tumbles into the void. Seeing this, Dana realizes that Marty was right all along and that they're being manipulated by puppeteers. They head back towards the cabin trying to figure a way out, when Holden's stabbed through the back of the neck and they drive off into the lake. Both Curt and Holden's sacrifices are shown with more blood filling their related slabs, while Dana survives the crash and fights her way back to the surface. She takes refuge on a small dock when the zombie father returns, but the ritual's already over. The whole facility celebrates a successful night of sacrifices, as killing the final girl wasn't necessary for their ritual. They ignore her screams for help while partying, until a red phone rings with a voice on the other side telling Steve that the rules weren't followed. It turns out Marty survived, and with his telescopic lifesaver he helps Dana fight off her attacker, and they flee back to the cabin. They enter the Buckner grave, where Marty fought back and dismembered his zombie with its own weapon. He messed with the wires, which caused a short and prevented the tunnel from collapsing earlier, and with no other way to escape they descend into the facility through a glass elevator. It enters a labyrinth that contains hundreds of supernatural creatures like werewolves, ghosts, sugar plum fairies, and even Cenobites. Dana realizes by the demon's lament configuration that they're all connected to the strange items in the cabin, and that they summon their own cause of deaths. Meanwhile, the facility's in shambles, searching for them, since even Japan failed their ritual when the children turned the evil spirit into a frog. They locate the two in the containment zone and bring their elevator down to the facility, but the guard needs to kill Marty first to preserve the intended order of sacrificial deaths. Luckily, the dismembered Buckner distracts him, and the two are able to crack his head open on the wall. Now strapped, they venture into the facility when a female voice over the intercom insists that they must die. She sends guards, so the two fall back to a control room, and again with no other option, Dana activates the facility's purge system, which releases all of the monsters. Literal hell breaks loose as the guards are all slaughtered and the office workers trapped inside to be hunted. Even clowns and unicorns join, and the mythical beings kill nearly every terrified agent in the building, before Marty and Dana are forced to move when a gigantic vampire bat begins chasing them. One of the staff recognizes them, but is nailed by the bat, allowing them to escape as Patience finally makes it downstairs. In the command center, Truman's overwhelmed by a horde of regular zombies, setting off his grenade in the process and knocking Steve to the ground. In a concussed state, he finally gets to see his merman, right before it kills him, showing what Gary meant by a messy cleanup. Just before they escape through an emergency hatch, Wendy's taken by a tentacle and we're left with only one staff member alive, but he's stabbed by Dana rounding a corner and dies, with his last words being for her to kill Marty. They continue underground until reaching the ritual room, surrounded by the stone slabs relating to the characters. The voice over the intercom enters and politely explains their purpose as devices used to sacrifice souls to the dark gods that once walked the earth. All countries have their own ritual to keep them dormant, but America's is the typical movie trope of a young athlete, a scholar, a whore, a fool, and a virgin, which Dana is not, but they work with what they can. The order of their deaths doesn't matter as long as the whore's first and the virgin's last. Since the ritual's as old as time, no one actually knows if anything bad will happen, but they don't want to risk the old gods awakening and destroying all of mankind if they're wrong. The director's story's convincing enough to have Dana turn on Marty for the sake of the world, but hurt by her betrayal, Marty refuses to warn Dana about the werewolf sneaking up behind her. It bites into her, causing her to drop the gun when Marty uses it to save his friend instead of shoot the bigger threat. The director knocks the gun out of his hand and the two begin rolling around, struggling for control of top position. Just then Patience Buckner enters and silently walks across the chamber past the mortally wounded Dana. She warns her friend, who directs the director's head right into the path of the zombie's hatchet. Then, with Patience tagging along, he kicks his attacker into the pit with the sleeping gods. It causes the place to rumble as Marty makes up with Dana, and pulls an immaculately clean joint out of his bloody pocket. They smoke up, contemplating the world's end and their disappointment for not being able to witness it, when both are killed instantly as a giant hand emerges from the earth and the gods regain control. And the movie ends.
Tequila is my lady! My lady!